Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at some comments made by Naoki Yoshida regarding the recent housing incident. For those of you who aren't aware, which would be very much a surprise to me, well, our first lottery housing window closed after 5 days. People went to the houses to see who was selected. Maybe they were the lucky ones, maybe they were the only ones. But some houses just decided, nobody. Nobody wins. It was a very weird thing that sparked a lot of speculation and backhanded comments about what could have actually happened. Whereas you had me making the wild claim that, you know what, wouldn't even be surprised if they just made it so it could roll zero, so not every house was gone in one go. Not the case, as we know now. Some people assuming that maybe they just forgot to remove the zero variable, and thus it was just possible for the game to roll a zero and ignore all the people. And then, of course, there was also the possibility of a registration bug, where it just wasn't taking people's registrations. All sorts of wild speculation has gone on regarding this. This post, well, it doesn't really clarify exactly what happened, but it clarified that they're looking into it and gave people more information about how the game actually reads a player's decision to put a bid on a house and how the game stores and is supposed to handle that information in order to give someone a winning lottery number. Now, Yoshi-P actually starts with something regarding the first follow-up. Now, I didn't even read the first follow-up outside of them just saying, we're investigating it. And in that news announcement, apparently his mention of there are many patterns involved in lottery conditions sparked speculation that they were manipulating the lottery. I don't get that from that statement, but I guess you do you, internet. So he apologizes for the vague wording and makes this whole huge post to try and clarify things so that people understand that that's not what's happening at all. What he should have said is there are many patterns involved in the lottery entry conditions. My blunder wasn't writing this simply as lottery conditions. The housing lottery system implemented in patch 6.1 uses a plain randomization method and conducts a simple process regardless of lottery entry conditions. Basically, it takes numbers, it pulls out a number, that person wins. The most basic of systems that could possibly be used. Although the development team is continuing to put their full effort into investigating and verifying the housing lottery issue, we have yet to identify the root cause, as it appears we will require additional time to do so. While some plots underwent the lottery process and are displaying the result as intended, other plots are experiencing the following issues. Now, here's, for me, the single most interesting line. Cases where the lottery was properly conducted internally and a winner does exist, but the results display as zero. This means that there was some sort of communication error between their internal systems pulling a number and the game client and server, I suppose, actually reading who the winner actually was. That's probably one of the most important things they're going to be looking at when they are trying to figure out exactly what has caused this issue. But it's not the only case of things going wrong. Cases where there was a single entry in the lottery, but the results display that there was no entrant or winner. So this is actually pretty interesting. On all of the houses that had a winning number of zero, thus nobody won, it actually then said there were no entrants for all of them, which is why I also thought as a follow-up that it might have been a registration style bug where it just wasn't actually parsing the registrations properly. It had nothing to do with the communication. This wording still kind of leaves it ambiguous. Again, they don't even really know the answer, but just reading that sort of specific feedback that they've taken, it opens up a few possibilities. And number 3, cases where there is no winner despite entries being made by multiple friends or free company. That's almost as interesting as the first one, where it just says there is no winner. This is not a matter of the game accidentally rolling a zero despite the number of people. That reads as if their internal system straight up did not pick a winner, unlike condition number 1, where the winner did exist, but the display was wrong and thus nobody can claim the house. So these are all very different things. But what I'm still willing to bet, speculation, is there is a communication between their internal server or their internal programming and the way it actually sends that data to the server and then to the client. Some sort of communication error where the array is not properly parsed through everything. Now, who knows? Maybe they just find that it was some like random value. Some people are, of course, speculating again that they just forgot to take the zero out, but they're making it seem like it's far more involved than that. Cats, I'm trying to record. Ivy, do you want to be in the video? Do you want to talk about the housing debacle? Hi. Hey, you wanna be a part of this? Hey. There you go. There you go. So they're going to continue to investigate and address the causes of these type of occurrences. They have the lottery data. It's possible to confirm the status of entry applications through our database server logs. These logs will be referenced to ensure players who have accepted their guild refund. So this specific part, players who have accepted their guild refund from losing the lottery will not be negatively affected by the measures they'll be taking afterwards. They said that if players entered for houses and then just said, no, I never mind, change my mind, just refund me the guild. And if they were like repeat offenders of that, if they were abusing the system to just grief people or to gamble without even really planning on taking the house, there would be repercussions. So they're saying you're safe. If you took it, but the internal system actually said you were the winner, they're not going to hold you accountable for it. So trying to alleviate people's concerns that maybe they'll think they did something wrong with like a false positive. Not to say it couldn't still happen, but they are already taking into consideration things like that. And then this entire last section here, apologizing for the inconvenience. They're going to be conducting the investigation. But this whole last section is just explaining, I guess, how the game works. And he uses some metaphors here in order to more properly describe it. Every available plot has its own lottery box. This is going to be exactly what I described to you earlier. Players who enter the lottery are given a ball with a number written on it. They place the numbered ball in the box. Once the entry period is concluded, the ball is picked from the box, and the player with the selected ball wins. Again, the most classic of lottery-style systems. No advantages or disadvantages based on entry timing. Doesn't matter if you enter right at the beginning or right at the end. It's just a purely random box full of numbers. Nothing more complicated than that. Now, this goes on to just explain some things that I think people were a little confused about. Housing lottery system has a wide variety of verifications to determine whether or not an applicant is eligible. This has to do with people with multiple characters on their account and whether or not they can register across those characters. So this says, for example, if you're looking to enter a lottery and you have two characters, neither character A or B owns a plot of land. Character A is the only one allowed to enter the lottery. Character A owns a plot of land and character B does not own one, then character A may enter a lottery only for the purposes of relocation. Character A does not own a plot of land, but character B owns one. Character A is disqualified. And character A or B, character A and B both own a plot of land, which, as far as I know, shouldn't happen unless they were grandfathered in from before. But even then, only character A may enter a lottery for the purposes of relocation. That last one comes with a little star. An error in this condition pattern was corrected in the emergency maintenance on April 14th. A lot of people thought this had to do partially with what was happening. Like, people were basically like on multiple characters prior to the maintenance. They were trying to like across multiple characters, register this or relocate that. And then it was messing with the system internally. So that's what the emergency maintenance was for on April 14th. So, they already went in and fixed this last condition that we have right here. Confirms not only on a per character basis, but the land ownership status of other characters on the same service account beforehand to determine whether or not a character may enter the lottery, as well as if they may enter to purchase land for acquisition or for relocation, which are referred to as lottery entry condition patterns. These are the things, again, that he's clarifying from his opening statement. So again, these are things that they've already explained before. He's just going into far, far more detail about this. Now, from the perspective of the plot, so though unrelated to the lottery process itself, there's also an extremely wide variety of patterns for plots of land being lotted on. These are not from the perspective of the applicants, meaning you will never see or interact with these particular elements. So, lottery entry conditions for patterns for plot A, which is being lotted on. There were no entry applicants for plot A. There was only one. There were multiple, but they belong to the same free company. There were multiple, but the applicants vary, and various other cases. So basically, the system is programmed to consider exactly what kinds of people are actually doing this. It's still completely random, but the system recognizes these things that are happening to make sure there are certain fail-safes that don't occur when there are especially probably multiple people going for it that belong to the same free company. But again, he's not saying this because, these things are exactly the things that occurred or caused the issue. But the more things they look at, every individual element of this, as they're saying, while investigating the cause of the issue, it is necessary to examine every case and unexpected factors in an exhaustive manner to see if a particular condition may have triggered the problem. So what they're saying is they're looking at all of these conditions and trying to determine if one of them specifically caused the issue. I mean, they're looking everywhere. They're just listing as many possible things that they can. So Yoshi-P is trying to theorize on what's going on. The devs are investigating what's going on. He looks at it from his perspective, and he knows it's an egregious issue, and he even says it's one of the most egregious issues throughout the history of the game's service. And I guess I got to agree. I mean, 14 has had its fair share of negative press when it comes to whether you're looking way, way back to the days of 1.0, or whether you're even just looking at people's ability to play during the Endwalker release just a few months ago. You know, you have to consider all of these types of things. But this is something on a different scale than that. It's something that in a calm period, a calm time, just didn't come together. Something fell apart on the inside. And they're looking. So at this point, all you can do is be patient, be frustrated, but be reasonable. Because if you send in death threats to the devs or making all sorts of crazy, wild claims or crazy, wild demands and just, I've seen some bonkers stuff. Dial it back. Just dial it back a bit. Be mad. Definitely be mad. But dial it back a bit. Okay? With that, that's going to be a wrap for this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more content on patch 6.1 and the upcoming Dragon Song War Ultimate, or Dragon Song Surprise, if you will. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one, and until then, take care.